Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Spellweaver video. Today we're going to have episode 2 of Boltor's Deck Doctor. This deck was sent to me by Kr1far. I don't know, instead of an I there's a 1. I'm just going to assume it's Kr1far, K-R-I-F-A-R. But anyway, this is going to qualify as yet another budget deck because it plays a basic hero and the only rares in it are Cavalry Field Captain and I think one Jungle Death Trap, which in my opinion qualifies it as a budget deck. The whole idea is that it's kind of a tempo-y soldier deck, and I want to just go ahead and say this outright right now. This video won't contain any gameplay. This is simply my Deck Doctor video. I've decided that until I decide, figure I might change it down the line, but until then, what I really want to do is I want to do the Deck Doctor videos earlier in the week, because people who send me decks saying, can you take a look at this, can you do a Deck Doctor for this, they're kind of waiting on my advice, and I want to get it out to them as soon as possible, so that they can get their answers, ASAP. I will be playing with my altered version of the deck later in the week, probably Friday, like when I normally post my videos. This video won't contain any gameplay, so if you're here for gameplay, you can go ahead and just leave now or stick around. I hope people stick around to watch these and kind of just maybe learn something they didn't realize about card games or deck building or such. That's kind of the reason why I do this. I kind of do this so that I can instill some of the knowledge that I've accumulated through my years of playing card games onto other people, and to give to kind of give a deck that people can try out for themselves. Now, at any rate, returning to the deck, my whole rambling aside, this deck is centered around its order nature, and the order is all centered around playing the soldier synergy with Master Tactician, and a card that I haven't gotten a chance to play as much as I want to, Cavalry Field Captain. When this enters the field, another creature you control gets +1/+1 health, attack, and speed, which the speed can be a big deal. And for 1 mana, you can retreat Cavalry Field Captain to the support line, which means that you can play it out, or you can attack with it and then retreat with it, which is something you couldn't normally do with other creatures. So, the whole idea, I think, with the bounce is to kind of bounce this creature back and play it again, so you can get her and her first ability even more, as well as the tempo that comes from bounce, being able, your opponent just paid 4 mana to get a big creature in play that they're going to block with. Well, here's a Tornado Outbreak, here's a Storm Fairy to screw up your plans and let me continue my aggression. So I do have some thoughts on this deck. I will keep it under the concept of budget, so I'm not going to be going like, oh, well, you need 4 of this rare and 4 of this rare, and oh, why don't you just throw in Antriel, a play set of Antriel, because why not? I'm going to go ahead and keep it relatively budget. So we're going to go in and we're going to go into the deck editor. So first things first, again, this deck is built straight from the deck list that was sent to me. So first things first, 18 shrines, a little low in my opinion. At the very least, you can buff this up, at the very least buff this up to 20. And I know I said I'm going to try and keep this budget as much as possible, but if 1 rare added to the deck isn't that big a deal, and we're gonna add at least 1 Enchanted Spring, and we're gonna go up to 8 Order Shrines, at least go up to 20 shrines. However, if you find that you want to do shrines in a different way, then you can go ahead and do that. But I'd say at least 20 shrines, because 18 is a little too few, even with Divine Offering. In my personal experience, dipping below 20 it means that you're inconsistent when it comes to drawing shrines and getting mana for your curve and everything. Enchanted Spring, because being able to bounce creatures like Storm Fairy, Venerated Unicorn, Cavalry Field Captain, all those creatures being able to be returned to your hand and played again, just a very, very useful ability. I think we can cut down a little bit on creatures here. I don't think you need 3 Venerated Unicorn. I think 2 is fine. This is an aggressive kind of tempo deck, so you're not really looking to be destroying a whole lot of artifacts or spells. Primarily, you're going to be wanting to get rid of stuff like Lamp of Zephyr and maybe an Angelic Song, so you can keep the aggression going. Keep the 4 Master Tactician. That's really nice. I think you can afford to cut down on creatures like Heavy Infantry. Cut down to 2 Heavy Infantry, and buff go up to play more, at least another copy of Elite Vanguard. Again, with crafting, it's not that big a deal making it an uncommon, but if you don't have 3, feel free to replace him with something with more Heavy Infantry or something. I don't exactly know how I feel about Dwarf Musketeer. The only thing I don't like about Dwarf Musketeer is, while it's really good to play on curve with turn 1 Steel Host, turn 1 or turn 2 Musketeer, turn 3 Cavalry Field Captain, or like Vanguard, and then the following turn play Master Tactician. While it's really good on curve, it does die to Plague Vermin. It does die to Cathedral of Night. That 1 life just is a little makes me a little hesitant to play it. If you have them, I strongly recommend for this deck Night Recruiter. It can kind of be your finisher if you're like swarming the board with all of your order creatures. Night Recruiter can be kind of your big end game drop, and it is a rare, so I'm not going to say, oh, definitely throw it in there. It definitely needs to be in the deck. But if you have some, definitely put it in the deck. I would put it in the deck over Night Escort, just because Night Escort is a really good value creature, a 2/4 that can attack and block for 3 and 2 levels. For 3 and 1 level, you're basically playing your end game creature, or for 3 mana, not 3 levels. Or for 3 and 1 level, you can basically play. Not only does he summon a token, which you could potentially abuse with Enchanted Spring and Storm Fairy, play him, return him to your hand, play him again. That's 2 tokens, so he gets buffed up even more. The simple fact that you're planning on swarming with soldiers anyway, this card becomes really, really good. I'm not going to put it in because it is a rare. And, there's no guarantee that you're going to have this card if you're new to the game. But like I said, if you have at least 1 copy, I would definitely find room for it. Is it just me? Looking at the art of this card, is it just me, or does that hit horse have better hair than the guy who's riding him? I mean, like, it looks like it was styled, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's just me being weird. As far as... I like the Jungle Death Trap as an idea, but I think again, I'm going to assume that the reason it's a one of is because Kr1far's only had the 1, but I would definitely play 2 or none at all. The 1 just kind of seems too random, so I would actually cut him because of that. Going on to spells, Touch of Light. The whole idea behind this is you want soldier buffs, so you want to buff them as much as possible. So I like Touch of Light. I really like how you can kind of surprise people with it. But the problem is you can only play during combat, and you can't respond to what your opponent's doing. So it's not like you're going to be saving it from Noxious Fumes or saving your creature from like a Noxious Fumes or a Cathedral of Night with it. You're not going to be doing that with Ambush Strike either, but that's another really good card to make sure you keep in the deck. I would probably try and buff this up or pump this up to 4 instead of 3, just because it is kind of one of the... I've played nature tempo decks where having 3 copies of this in my hand basically won me the game. So I would increase this up to 4. Personally, I really, 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 really like Pacify. Maybe try to find some room for an extra copy or 2. I personally just like playing 4 of Pacify in most order decks I played, just because it's, in my opinion, the best removal. I mean, it doesn't hit troublesome support creatures, but being able to pay 2 mana to get rid of a Kr1far's or a red dragon or something big that's coming at you, can be so very valuable. Let's see. I really like the Storm Fairy and the Venerated Unicorn in this deck, and Neva as a hero is definitely the best pick because being able to play like a Spearman, a Master Tactician, and the Musketeer like in the same turn, and then overrunning or giving them all swift late game is just too good. This deck is primarily Order despite the hero, and so I'm not going to try and fit in a whole bunch of like techie nature cards, primarily because this deck is focused on the soldier synergy. I am going to get rid of the 2 Knight Escorts because I think we can find something a little better to fit that, kind of fit there. Let's see, what do we got? Could go with maybe a Path of Transcendence in a, to buff up. A Path of Transcendence might be good because while there's a little bit of bounce in this deck, Path of Transcendence basically acts like your own personal bounce. Being able to return Cavalry Field Captain from the board or under Path of Transcendence, bring it back, you get the buff again. Let's see. To do cost 2 or less. I would say, quite honestly, seeing as Master Tactician and Storm Fairy are the only things that Instill Life doesn't work with, definitely find room for 2 Instill Life in this deck. If you don't have that, I suggest playing 2 Angelic Mites maybe, primarily because this deck is given under the idea of buffing creatures and such, that Angelic Mite just might be what you need to help push you through. Being able to play this on a creature that you just buffed with Cavalry Field Captain returning from Path of Transcendence, and giving extra, buffing them up to a speed where their opponent can't block. The opponent can't block. Play Angelic Might for that extra damage. Swing on through. Win the game that way. Or maybe just get the combine this with an Ambush Strike for a really big creature. I'm not going to put Path of Transcendence into the deck just because it's a rare and they people might not have it, under the same reason why I didn't put Knight Recruiter in there. So if you have them, I'll conclude this video by saying if you have them, let's go just straight to rares. If you have them in your collection, Knight Recruiter, definitely find room for this card. Again, like I said, maybe some of the later game creatures could get replaced with a Knight Recruiter, or you could cut stuff, maybe cut down on the Touch of Light. Also, maybe some Path of Transcendence too. Again, this one kind of falls under personal preference. I really like this card considering the fact that it can kind of help you win stalled out games because your important creatures are disappearing so they can't get killed. Also, if you find yourself kind of in a stalemate with creatures around the same size, you just every turn tuck a guy under Path of Transcendence and you can win a stalemate that way. So cards to very much consider, but I'm not going to put them in the deck because they're rare. Knight Recruiter, Path of Transcendence, maybe Guardian of the Faithful, just because it's a really good card in general. It doesn't really fit the synergy, but it's simple. Its ability to just kind of control the speed of games can be a big deal. So these 2 definitely can strongly consider putting in the deck. You could play more copies of Cavalry Field Captain, but again, I'm going to assume that there are only 2 in the deck because the person who made this deck only has 2. Maybe Guardian of the Faithful and stuff to. How about this? I will specify by saying Guardian of the Faithful and Spellwarden should be put in the deck if you're finding yourself playing against the same kind of deck. Like maybe you're facing nothing but like like really aggressive decks like Rage Rush or like Corruption Rush or Nature Rage Rush, at any rate, any of those cards, maybe you could fit in a Guardian of the Faithful. If you're finding yourself having trouble against control decks, maybe some Spell Wardens, simply by saying like, oh well, I'm playing against a life gain deck, let me get rid of their, or steal their Word of Grace with my Spell Warden. At any rate, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Like I said, there will be gameplay of this deck later in the week. I simply don't have time to record it right now. Plus, I wanted to get this video out ASAP for Kr1far, who asked for my advice. So, I hope you guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, like I said, anything you can do to help support my channel, help support Spellweaver in general. And as always, guys, may the cards rise to meet you. Bring good RNG to your enemies.